Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, April 4th. It's an official City Council meeting. If you could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I ask for a roll call to make the meeting official, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for the two proclamations we have on the agenda for this evening, which are autism and child abuse. So at this time, if we could please have a moment of silence for those two causes. Thank you. And at this time, Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll.
Gutenkopf. Here. Peasant. Here. Shea. Here. Leader.
Here.
Rose. Here. Bram.
Here.
Kipskin.
Here.
York.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
14 present, 0 absent.
14 present, 0 absent. We have an official quorum. Next on the agenda are two proclamations, which are near and dear to me. And I asked the recipients of the first proclamation, which is autism, the folks that are here for autism. I know we have Joan Olson in the audience, and Dina Seidenfuss, and actually the First Lady of Elmhurst, Rose DeCiani, in the audience with actually my daughter Brianna and my other children. If you'd all meet me up at the podium real quick for the proclamation. April is officially Autism Awareness Month, not only throughout the world, but also in the city of Elmhurst. And last year we started doing this, and we are open to other conditions, diabetes and all the other conditions that afflict our families locally, cancers. We do the Relay for Life, and so this we always do in the month of April for autism and also for child abuse, which we're going to have next up here. So, hey, Gub, what are you doing? That's my daughter Brianna, who was nonverbal about 4 years ago, and now is very verbal. And also a lot more emotional, too, and social, right? Right, Brianna? Anyway. Very good with the iPhone. And very good with an iPhone. So, and we have with us today Joan Olson, who's very much a huge advocate for autism. She also has a son with autism. We have Dina Seidenfuss, who has a son with autism as well, too. And my wife, Rose, is here. And then a little bit of my family, my sisters and my niece and my sister Bernadette and my niece and my daughters, Natalie and Bree. So, whereas autism is a complex neurological disease and developmental disability that robs children of social skills, the ability to talk, interact, and do the normal things that we are often take for granted. Whereas autism affects 1 in every 110 children born today and affects boys nearly 4 times the levels of girls. It has been diagnosed at a higher rate than pediatric AIDS, juvenile diabetes, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and all pediatric cancers combined, and is considered to be the country's #1 medical condition afflicting children today. Whereas autism is treatable through early diagnosis, early intervention, including critical and intensive medical necessary therapy such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA, RDI, floor time, and other behavioral therapies combined with medical interventions have been proven to be extremely effective, often unlocking the world of autism to enable these beautiful kids to have the ability to communicate and interact with the ultimate goal of independence and fulfillment in life. Now, therefore, I, Peter P. DeCiani III, Mayor of the City of Elmhurst, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2011 is Autism Awareness Month in the City of Elmhurst to promote awareness and detection of autism. Thank you for coming out, everybody. Would you like to say anything?
I'm just impressed we got a frame this year, actually. Well, as you can see, autism is a family affair, it's a community affair, and this community is blessed to have such a statewide leader as its leader. So we have to thank Mayor Pete, and I think all of us would join in noting that the person who really deserves the thanks here is his wife, Rose. Thank you, everybody.
Also want to mentioned Kieran Grain is here today as well too. She has a son with autism, and also we have one of our elected officials, not only myself but also Norm Leader, who has a grandson with autism. So this affects over 100 and I believe 30 children here in Elmhurst, somewhere around close to 20,000 throughout the state of Illinois, and almost nearly 1 million throughout the country. So it's a condition, unfortunately, that's not going away, and it's just doubling and tripling, and so to have awareness, to have the knowledge that there is hope. Bree's hope. She's verbal, and she reads, she writes, she's doing well. She's in first grade at Lincoln. So those are the kind of hope, situations we want to see more and more of. Success stories. Joan Olson's, all these children here are doing extremely well, and it's because they have dedicated parents, they have dedicated mothers that put a ton of time in therapy every day. They are truly saints for the amount of work they put in. So, okay. Next up, Jackie Haddad with Prevent Child Abuse a month here. And actually, Jackie is with. Would you like to say a few words? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. As I have been doing this probably for 15 years now, every April is the prevention of child abuse. We have the little blue bowl that we are passing out, and we are collecting $1 for every blue bowl. We also have angels that are Christmas ornaments that we are selling for $10, and all the profits from all this go to the prevention of child abuse. And we have a proclamation here for our mayor, and I'm going to let him read it. But before that, I want to introduce you to the president of the Elmhurst Junior Women's Club, Jennifer Gordon. Jennifer?
Hi, thank you for having me. I want to say that it's an honor for me to do this. I think it's such an important cause that we help with so many children, especially in the economic times. Unfortunately, parents get frustrated and take it out on their children. So in this case, I really think it's such an important thing to be able to, to support these children in need. So I'm so happy to be a part of this with Jackie and to see how much money we can raise to help with this cause.
And there are canisters that will be around town at different locations.
Absolutely. And as Jackie mentioned, there'll be these canisters out. I'm sure she's got them in just about every retail location throughout the city of Elmhurst, because I fundraised with Jackie before, and she is probably the best fundraiser I've ever seen in my life. I saw her raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for kids when we were back on the ECAF board together. She broke me in. She taught me how to get to people and how to pull the heartstrings, and she's the best. So, okay, very good. I have two of them for you. All right. Whereas child abuse prevention is a community problem, finding solutions depends on involvement among people, their community, including the courts. Whereas statistics of children who are abused and neglected escalate each year. Last year, DuPage County had 3,360 reported cases. That's reported. Whereas the effects of child abuse are felt worldwide and throughout whole communities and need to be addressed by the entire community. Whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among the courts, social service agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement, and the business community. And whereas Parents Care plus Share, a prevention program of Children's Home plus Aid, offering positive alternatives to help break the cycle of abuse, is sponsoring a Blue Bow campaign to heighten awareness of the need to support families. Whereas all citizens should become more aware of child abuse and its prevention within the community, and to become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Whereas, let me proclaim April 2011 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens to increase their participation in efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening the communities in which we live. Jackie, thank you. Absolutely. Jackie, I think I got the high sign to buy some ornaments, so put me down for a tree full. So, okay. On to our next portion of the meeting, which is item number 4, receipt of written communication and/or petitions from the public. At this time, is there anybody with written communications or petitions? Would like to please rise and present those to Clerk Spencer at this time? Marilyn? Anyone else with any written communications and/or petitions from the public? Okay. And for the families that came out tonight, if you like, the meeting will be long, so we appreciate you coming out. You're welcome to stay, but knowing my kids, they'll be climbing up the walls. so thanks for coming out, everybody. We appreciate all your advocacy. So, okay. We'll go on to item number 5, public forum. Clerk Spencer, has anyone signed up for public forum this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 4 people. We'll start with Peter Salick, 235 North Myrtle Avenue.
Okay, Peter. Just so you know the ground rules, we give you 3 minutes. You can say your name and address, and then you can say anything about whatever you like to talk about, and we welcome you up here. And you got a great first name.
Hi, I'm Peter Salick, and 235 North Middle Avenue, and I'm a Boy Scout of Troop 82, and I'm here working on a couple of merit badges. I'm here observing how the city council meeting works, and I'm working on my way toward Eagle.
Great, Peter.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ellen Braun, 850 South Euclid Avenue.
I'm here tonight to invite everyone to a party. In just a few months, our city manager, Tom Borchert, will be retiring, and we want to join in a celebration honoring his long career and all of his contributions to the city of Elmhurst and its citizens. So on Friday night, May 13th, we will be gathering at the Diplomat West at 6:30 in the evening for dinner and a special presentation. This is an event that is open to everyone in the community, and we hope that there will be a wonderful turnout to help celebrate this important event. The cost is $75 per person, and at Mr. Borchert's request, the proceeds from the dinner will benefit the Elmhurst Historical Museum and the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation. So you can get more information about this by contacting the museum or by going to the website for elmhurstheritagefoundation.org. And while I'm here, I'd like to mention also a couple of other events coming up that will be sponsored by the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation. On May 5th, there will be an opening celebration for the new exhibit that will be in place during the summer at the museum called Toys in the Hood. And that should be a lot of fun for families as well as grown-ups, and opportunities for children as well as adults to interact with games and learn about toys and other things that have been created in the Chicago area. And then also we are getting ready for our annual Ruth Strand poster contest, which is open to children in 2nd and 3rd grades who are studying local history. So the due date for posters will be May 6th, and there will be a reception honoring the winners on May 24th. So we look forward to seeing you at some of these events, and we thank the City Council for its ongoing support of the Elmhurst Historical Museum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Braun.
Marilyn Aredo, 912 Sailor.
I'm Marilyn Aredo, 912 Sailor. My compliments to the foundation. The Anne Frank exhibit was outstanding, and if you haven't seen it, please do. I think they've extended it. I'm addressing you on a not-so-happy note. Once again, I stand before the council to address the continuous electrical outages on Southwest Elmhurst. Once again, my power was out for an hour or so on Sunday, April 3rd, 2011. I was gone for the weekend, and when I returned home on Sunday evening, all the clocks were blinking. This is the 4th outage for 2011. When is ComEd going to be held responsible for providing the same electrical power for all of Elmhurst? I know for a fact that a mile away from my home, people had power. I know this because my daughter lives but a mile from me. She even had power during the blizzard in February. You, the city council, city manager, and mayor know that there is something wrong with the grid that services Southwest Elmhurst. ComEd has even admitted that there are some weaknesses, as it was stated concerning the grids for this area. Sometimes I think the grid is held together with duct tape because the least bit of interference and there is a failure, a short or whatever. I have enclosed a picture of a ComEd employee holding a small branch that was supposedly the cause of the outage on April 3rd. Mr. Halloran from ComEd phoned me after my February remarks. He said he was calling because of my concerns. I said, Mr. Halloran, replace the grid like I've replaced my old furnace, my roof, my windows, and many appliances. I also told him that I'm not going away unless this problem is solved. Again, I believe that you, the city council, city manager, and mayor need to address this problem with the Illinois Commerce Department and the Illinois State's Attorney. You need to use the powers to assist our city concerning this electrical problem. Remember, spring is here, and that means rain, maybe even flooding. And the people on the Southwest Elmhurst need power to keep dry. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Lastly, we have Liz Whittemire, 908 Sailor.
Liz Whitmire, 908 Sailor. I wanted to thank my Alderman Mark Mullner from the 7th Ward for once again going out yesterday morning in search of our culprit reason for losing power, the 4th time in 2011. He always goes and scours the neighborhood whenever we have a power problem because I think, along with all the residents, Mark is tired of their continual excuses. What Mark found is quite telling. Mark found a ComEd worker who was working on our outage. The worker gave Mark the twig that took our power down yet again. In the past, whenever I was told that my power was out due to a tree contact, as ComEd calls it, I always assumed it was a trunk of a tree, a limb of a tree, or even a branch. But Marilyn brought the picture. I have a prop. Here's what I would consider, if you look in a dictionary at what a twig is. Some people might consider it a twig. It's between a branch and a twig. ComEd's response has changed too. I wanted to bring out to everyone's attention. Over the last several outages this year, their new tactic is to call us after the power is restored, and they call us and tell us that our power is now back on. What they add that's really of no use at all, in that call when they tell us our power has been restored, they say, however, we cannot guarantee it will remain on for the rest of the day. That's what I was told yesterday. So imagine how I felt when my daughter wanted to plug in her sewing machine. It's an electronic board. She can't use it when we're going to have power surges. Imagine how I felt when the sky turned gray and the wind started picking up some more. Imagine how I felt when the rain started pouring down and thunder started bolting down on top of my house. I would like to see ComEd come up with a better reason, a better source to fix our ComEd problem, rather than telling us that they're going to go out and trim trees. Because as we can see, if this is what is still out there, and this is the cause of us losing power, then we are obviously not going to get anywhere by trimming trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes public forum.
Okay, I will officially close the public forum portion of our meeting. and go on to the consent agenda. Is there anyone that may have a question, may want to vote no on any particular item on the consent agenda? If so, please raise your hand and let me know what item that might be. Alderman Pezza.
T as in Tom.
T is in Tom. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing none, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the contents of the consent agenda, less item T. Alderman Healy with a motion, second by Alderman Wagner. And Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll.
Healy.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. That consent agenda is passed in its entirety, less item T as in Tom. And on to item T as in Tom. It's an ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the ordinance, please, or the recommendation.
An ordinance granting a conditional use permit for the purpose of erecting a communications tower on the property commonly known as Elmhurst Memorial Healthcare Business Operations Center, located at 855 North Church Court, Elmhurst, Illinois.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this on the floor. Alderman Morley with a motion, second by Alderman Rose. Discussion. Alderman Morley, Mr. Chairman.
This is an ordinance about something we discussed for at least maybe 45 minutes last time, so I think it stands.
Okay. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just make it brief. First, I wanted to make a point to thank the hospital and for sending out Mr. Day and Mr. Collender to the last meeting to take the time to be here to let us know if we did have a question. They were here to answer it. Unfortunately, that opportunity to use their time and expertise to have a concern I had addressed was stifled, and therefore I won't beat a dead horse. We all understand what happened there, but that is the only reason I will be unable to support this ordinance this evening. So, but thank you to the hospital for being here to try and answer us.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'd ask, actually, Clerk, yeah, it's an ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please. We have a motion and a second by Alderman Morley and second by Alderman Rose.
Okay. Morley.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
No.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
No.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Okay, that's 12 ayes and 2 nays.
12 ayes, 2 nays. That ordinance passes. And we go on to our committee reports, which is item number 7. And item A is a report, recommendation. Clerk Spencer, if you could please read the recommendation, please.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Works and Buildings Committee that the monthly rates charged for solid waste removal be adjusted as outlined above, effective April 1, 2011. Respectfully submitted, Public Works and Buildings Committee, signed by Jim Kennedy, Chairman, and Chris Healy.
This time I ask for a motion and a second to put the report on the floor. Alderman Kennedy with the motion, second by Alderman Healy. Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very simply, what we're doing here is we've got an annual increase from the contract from Allied Waste for what it costs for them to come to our houses, to pick up the garbage, and then to bring that to the landfill or to wherever it's being recycled and process it. So they're making an increase of 4.5%, and if you look on the back side of the sheet we were given, that is the first section there in the left side. So those rates going to $13.33 for the 33-gallon and $18.31 for the toter. The next piece of the cost goes to the administrative side of the equation. So if you look down in the left right-hand corner, we have $377,978 that we need to cover in costs that are incurred by the city of Elmhurst for us to administer the program of picking up waste here in the city of Elmhurst for our 13,255 residences that have garbage service. So that's the leaf pickup, that's the street sweeping, that's the communication that we have to our residents, that we're having the special pickups for the throw anything out you want day in April, those types of things, the IT, the people downstairs that collect the fees. It's all of those things rolled up. That costs us just shy of $378,000 to do that. So what we need to do then is to determine how we're going to distribute that amount of money over the collections of the city to recoup those dollars. And so what we took from the majority report was that we were not going to change the stickers because we've already made made an adjustment to those last year. And so there's some monies there that are used, that we do go towards that offset of 378. And the balance of that would be to take and charge those to the people that are at the 33-gallon and at the 96-gallon toter size. Realistically, the cost for the city to administer that has no bearing on the amount of garbage that an individual is creating. It's the same amount. It costs the city the same amount to send out a bill, to administer the counter, to do everything there. I understand we may not be at a point where we can make that equal, and I haven't pushed that equivalence in this point, but I think ultimately as we go forward, and certainly as we renegotiate the contract next year, we should be looking to make that equal again for each of our residents. So what we did is took a split to that approach so that we were taking a 2/3 of that cost, putting it to the 33-gallon, 1/3 to the toter, so that we're getting a little closer to equivalent in those charges. So that's what we've done, and the ultimate rates here of $14.65 and $21.21 is what we would have going forward.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other discussion? Alderman Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I'd add to Chairman Kennedy's comments are that contractually, we got a 4.5% increase from Allied on this. With the majority report, and I think, in fact, the minority report as well, the increase that we'll be passing on to the residents is below 4.5%. And the reason for that is because the fees associated to the city administration of the waste program were reduced this year. So the city is actually seeing a 4.5% increase from Allied. We are not passing on the 4.5% increase because of that reduction in administration fees.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to the motion on the table, the majority report, I did submit a minority report, and I will speak to that shortly. I believe that the basis of the majority report is flawed. The argument of the majority report is along the lines of it doesn't make a difference on what size waste receptacle that a homeowner would be utilizing, that the administrative cost is the same. If that was the same concept, we would be also adding some type of an increase to the refuse stickers in this equation, which it was clearly stated that that is not happening at all. We are keeping them the same due to the fact that they were raised the previous year, which is a true statement. But if that was the case, we should be raising each category that is before us today, which is the 33-gallon, the toter, the refuse sticker, and the yard waste sticker. I would even hasten to argue that there is more administrative costs for the stickers, be it refuse or yard waste, due to the fact that we have to contact the various vendors who distribute those stickers, Dominic's and the other places within the area that sell and distribute those stickers. So there's additional communication costs. There's additional administration overhead to be able to handle those two areas of this increase. I do want to make note, and Alderman Healy referred to it but didn't state it as clearly as I thought he would have. is that there was a lot of discussion in regards to the administrative rates that we have here before us. And it has been reduced by, I think, 20-something odd thousand compared to when we first started these discussions. So there was a lot of due diligence done in regards to what is the cost of the administration rates. One piece of that puzzle, and we talked about it at the last committee of the whole meeting about in the budget forum, was IT services and what are the actual charges that are allocated to refuse rates for IT services. And that has been reduced to what was initially proposed to the committee early on in this discussion. Before I actually make the motion to for the minority report, I do want to note that there's a Scrivener error on both the majority and the minority report, I believe. The third paragraph down where it states about 74,500 and 89,587. If you look at the chart, the revised estimate is showing, well, the street sweeping is accurate, but I thought that what was the other one? Additional salary costs was incorrect. So if that could be looked at. But at this time, so I could speak to actually my minority report, I would like to make a motion to substitute the majority report with the minority report.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Shea. Discussion. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The minority report, what I tried to do here was to, and I bulletized the various points on this topic. And I think there are three key points, three substantial points. The first one being is moving toward a more equitable per gallon rate for each size receptacle. If you look at the information that I provided with the report, today it's approximately, if you have a 33-gallon receptacle, you're paying pretty close to, if not more than, twice the per gallon rate if you have a 96-gallon receptacle. So that's point number one, and I'll revisit that point another time here. The second point is promoting recycling and less waste in the landfills. The majority report references allocating the increase in costs that are necessary in this case, 2/3 to the smaller waste receptacle, being the 33-gallon receptacle. So we're increasing the cost to actually send less waste to our landfills, and I think that's key. We are cool cities. Elmhurst also has a sustainability policy, but we're increasing the 33-gallon receptacle more so than we're doing for the 96-gallon toter in this case. I should say we are proposing. The third point is minimizing refuse and recycling cost increases to the Elmhurst senior citizen population. And I can't speak for all the seniors within the city of Elmhurst, but from the individuals that I have spoken to, they use 33-gallon receptacles and not a 96-gallon toter. And if you look at the number of residents that use the 33-gallon, it is on the chart that the city provided on the back of the majority report, approximately per month, 33-gallon is close to 8,000 users, 7,955. The toter is 5,300 per month uses for each of those receptacles. So we are applying an additional or a higher increase in this proposal to more individuals in the city of Elmhurst compared to the minority of individuals in the city of Elmhurst. I think my proposal, the minority proposal before you, is a fair and equitable rate. The increase is from $14.03 a month to $14.20 for the 33-gallon, and from $20.76 a month to $21.43 per month for the toter, and an increase to both of the sticker prices from $2.25 to $2.40. And just so everybody understands the relativity here, the proposed increase for the majority was $14.03 for the 33-gallon to $14.65, an increase of 62 cents there, and $20.76 to an increase of $21.25 for the 96-gallon toter.
Thank you, Alderman Bram. Alderman Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Graham. First of all, Allied increased the costs. Okay, those costs have to be covered. Both reports cover the increase of the cost. But I feel the minority report is a fair distribution of the fees. For the minority report, the 33-gallon paid, for the majority report, I mean, the 33-gallon paid much more proportionately. They were like being penalized for producing less garbage. And for recycling, that doesn't promote this recycling, which we're part of Cool Cities. That's something we should be looking and working towards. I had originally signed the majority report, and then after reading the minority report, I do feel it's a fair distribution. It does help to balance out the costs more evenly, so that's why I'm supporting the minority report.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions or discussion? Alderman Rose.
Yeah, my question is this. Was the minority report, the content of the minority report discussed in committee? Or was this alternative discussed in committee at some point or not?
It was, ma'am?
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was not discussed in our last committee meeting. Some of the concepts were discussed at a previous committee meeting.
Okay.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 points I'd like to add. The rates that are going up for the 33-gallon, the 96, the refuse sticker, and the yard waste sticker, if you look at the back of the majority report where it reads Allied Waste BFI rates, those are contractually what the rates are going up. So that's what we're getting from Allied. When you look at the city billing rates, the rates we charge the residents, if you take the city administration portion of the rate and do the math, 13.67% of the 96-gallon toter rate is for city administration costs. For the 33-gallon, that number is 9.01%, meaning that the toters are paying a bigger percentage of the administration rate. So we're taking what we are contractually obligated to pay BFI Allied per toter, per 33-gallon, and then putting the city rates on top of those to come up with the billing rates. When you look at the city portion we're putting on top of those, the 96-gallon toters are bearing a higher percentage of those rates than the 33-gallon. The refuse sticker is actually the highest administration portion at almost 26% of the actual rate we charge is city administration, and then the second lowest would be yard waste. So while I don't disagree in concept with the minority report, I think the time to discuss that's when there's a new contract drawn up so that we can make those rates equitable per 33-gallon toter or what have you, because the rates from Allied are what they are, and that's per the contract. So really the only thing we can control is what percentage of the city administration rate we put on top of those, and I think the majority report, as fairly and as equitably as we can, makes it more expensive to have a toter, understanding that the contract rates aren't set up like the minority report suggests. Thank you.
Very good. Alderman Mulliner, then Alderman Pezza.
Yeah, this is something that I've been concerned with for a long time, and that is that I feel that the 96-gallon should be more costly, but I do understand that we have the contract, and that's where basically the main part of the rate is. So, even though I would love to support the minority report because it pushes it in the direction that I think we need to be going, I would like to make sure that when we do the next negotiation on the contract that we address this issue, because I think this is a big thing. I think we need to get those more equitable, and I mean, I think that everybody's looking at the same thing, wanting to do the same thing. It's just how do we get there and how fast can we get there. So I think when we get the next negotiation, that's our opportunity to straighten this out, and we should straighten it out at that time, because I think it does promote more recycling if you can get more people using the 33-gallon.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to thank the committee. I was able to sit in on one of the meeting discussions, and I know a lot of work and time went into this on both reports. And I think the good news on both reports was that you were able to get that rate down on the administration, so thank you for that. I guess for me, what this comes down to is kind of a practice what you preach vote. And I know, you know, when I took office, this sustainability policy was something brought before us from the beginning, and it's been brought up several times in the past, I know, by the League of Women Voters and other organizations. And I feel like we should show a commitment to this policy because we're supposed to incorporate that in our decision making. And I believe the minority report does incorporate that to a higher degree. I think it encourages less waste, more recycling. It almost forces us to be more aware of that. So I think while the majority report, they did a great job, and I appreciate some of those costs being brought down. I feel like we should be practicing what we're preaching, and why not start doing that today by encouraging less waste and more recycling. And if at the end of the day we're going to get the bottom line we need anyways, I would say maybe let's not look at this as two reports fighting with one another. Maybe let's look at this as which report really fulfills what we're supposed to be doing and what we promised to do as far as a cool city and our sustainability policy. So I'm more comfortable with the details in the minority report.
Thank you, Alderman. Anyone else? Alderman Gutenkopf.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I have a question because I understand Alderman Healy's point, but what I don't understand is what difference it makes. What difference does it make which part of the cost is due to overhead and which part of the cost is due to the underlying contract with Allied if what we're trying to do is rebalance the total cost overall? I think that's something that's pretty most people who are buying trash, the ability to get rid of their trash from us don't care which part of that cost comes from Allied and which part's overhead. So what difference would it make in the end if we shifted some of that cost to the 96 gallons?
Alderman Levin.
Well, if I'm reading this correctly, the difference for the 33-gallon is going to be that the resident will pay 45 cents less a month, so it's less than, it's like $5 a year, and the 96 is going to pay 22 cents more a month between the two reports, which is about $2.50. So I don't think we're really going to change sustainability practices in the city for $2.50 or $5 a household. I'm not in favor at this point of changing the sticker rate because we did just change it and there are certain printing costs involved. I just don't feel that the minority report is worth the effort right now, although I do feel that the concepts probably need to come into play at the time when we renegotiate the Allied contract. Thank you.
Alderman Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want a clarification, make sure I'm reading this right. The city admin rates on the back of the majority report. The $1.32 for the 33-gallon and the $2.90 for the toter. If I add those, if I multiply those by all the quantities directly below it, will I get that $377,000? Is that? Could the chairman answer that question?
Mr. Chairman?
You would get to the 310. You see that number?
No.
Down in the bottom corner.
Oh, okay.
You'd get 126 for the 33-gallon, 184 for the toter, subtotaled to 310, and then you'll see how it all, then with the stickers, ends up summing to 379, which is there to cover the 377 on the left side, which is the expenses. It's basically rounding errors by pennies and things.
Follow up, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Okay, so that's the revenue on one side, and it's as close as we're going to get to the expenses at the other left-hand corner. So if I'm reading this right, there already is a penalty of almost more than two, if you want to look at it this way, from a city admin rate, if I understand what the chairman said. Leaf pickup, street sweeping, supplies, IT services, et cetera. I want to make sure I'm reading this right, because if there's a family of 5, hypothetically, that has a large toter, they're actually picking up a larger portion of the leaf pickup and the street sweeping and the IT services? I mean, am I reading that correctly?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yes.
I can appreciate, I don't think the city should be in the business, quite frankly. Yes, we should encourage, but how far we want to push that with our residents, the carrot and the stick kind of thing, penalizing somebody. You know, I mean, me personally, I recycle almost 3 cans a week, full cans a week, but I'm a family of 5 and I fill a toter. And according to this, I'm already paying over twice the amount for the leaf pickup and the street sweeping. I think there's a big enough of a parity already, even with this correction that the I guess the majority report is trying to get together. There's still a pretty big divide here. And then my final point would be, I agree with the other alderman's comments that a $2.50 different over a year, I don't think we're going to be changing a lot of people's mind overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderman. Anyone else? Alderman Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to address some of the comments made. In regards to Alderman Rose's question, Alderman Kennedy was correct. We did discuss this concept and how the rates would be divided up. What I attached to the minority report is a simplified or streamlined version of what I presented at committee. The city staff has presented over our many weeks of discussion 4 different options. At the last, I think it was the last committee meeting, I presented I think it was either 4 or 5 various options, but in this, attached to the minority report was the final option that matched the total dollar amount, $3 million and change, compared to the majority report. I think what it comes down to is whatever happens behind the scenes, administrative costs, what Allied is charging us, is irrelevant to the bill that the residents get in the mail. And I think that's the big point here. They get a bill, and I think it's appropriate to encourage sustainability and keep the cost down for the seniors for the 33-gallon container compared to the 96-gallon container. Keep in mind, 96-gallon container filled with refuse is filling up the landfill that much quicker. In regards to the comments of the sticker printer costs, it's irrelevant. The stickers are already, well, I don't know if they're already printed. City Manager Borchert might be able to speak to that. But what it comes down to is there's no rate on the stickers. It's just a colored sticker. And we could set the cost at whatever we want to set the cost, starting at whatever day we want to set the cost. So there won't be any additional printer costs. There won't be any changes of the stickers whatsoever. So it's my belief that you could negate that argument of additional cost if we make a decision or go with a different price for the stickers now compared to last year. Finally, we've heard comments of, you know, it's only a small amount of money, it's only a small cost. Well, we could say that in the reverse argument too. Well, if it's only a small cost, if it's only a small difference, then that argument works for the minority report as well as the majority report. And I think I'll end my comments with this. It's about sending a message. What message do you want to send? I want to send a message that if you're able to recycle more and use a smaller container, then you should be charged at the least amount possible. I want to send the message that I want to do everything that is in my capability to reduce the cost to the seniors that are still living in their homes. So I think that's what it really comes down to for me. Yes, I think that we could have a bigger bite at the apple once we talk about the overall contract, whoever our provider is in a couple of years. That's true, and I'm an advocate for that. I've advocated for that the last time we talked about the refuse and recycling contract. But I want to make a difference today and send a message today, and that message is what I already pointed out in those bullet items. I believe in sustainability and trying to do our best for the environment. I believe in reducing what we send to the landfill. And I believe in trying to save every penny, if it's $2, if it's $2.50, if it's $4, for the seniors of the city of Elmhurst. And that's why I encourage all of you to support the minority report, because I think it is a very equitable rate. The per gallon rate is still almost double compared to the toter if this minority report moves forward. The minority report, the toter is 22 cents per gallon, and the 33 gallon is 43 cents per gallon. Pretty significant in my mind, and we can debate that all night, what the appropriate cost is. But this is the message that I want to send, no matter if it's 10 cents or $5 a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else for discussion? Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess at the end of the day, no matter which of these reports gets voted in, the message we're sending is we're raising yet another fee, which is unfortunate. And I keep hearing over and over again, every time we raise a fee or taxes, that it's only this amount, or it's only that much, or it's only this much. I have people that have called me and said, when you add up all the onlys, you're onlying us out of here. So the onlys end up being something. And I think if we don't pay attention to that, one of these days, the onlys are going to come back and, unfortunately, may make or break it for some people's pocketbooks. Not everybody has only dispensable pocketbooks. And when we could make decisions like these, personally, I tend to try and think of those people. And I don't like the fact that we can speak for everybody and say it's only a few bucks here and there, because it all does add up at the end of the day.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Rose.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the sustainability policy. We talked about this in our committee for quite a long time. Alderman Gutenkopf was on the committee at that time, Alderman Lieberson. And the good news is this council passed that policy 14-0. So I think all of us have a sensitivity to that. The problem I have with the minority report primarily is the raising of this sticker price. I think that's the problem, because my understanding is, just in talking with a lot of small families, not just seniors, it's small families in the ward and throughout the city, is they tend to use the smaller, the 33-gallon one. So they're the ones who are buying these stickers on those occasions, Christmas, Thanksgiving, when they have company, their family and kids come over. In some ways, I think that's who we're going to put this burden on, is small families and seniors. So the reason I can't really support this is that I think that when we raise this sticker price, that's the other thing I think is, it's Allied gives us this price. We're not raising that for no reason. We're trying to pass on that cost that Allied has, and I think that's a responsible thing to do. So the primary reason I just can't support this is changing the sticker price, because I think it doesn't seem obvious, but in the end, who really is going to pay that, I believe, are older families and small families. And that, to me, I just can't support it for that reason. So.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions or discussion before I call the roll on the amended motion? Or excuse me, on the motion on the minority report. Anybody else? Okay. Let's see here. It is a report. We could probably do this by voice vote. All in favor to support the minority report? Roll call. Or excuse me, is an ordinance. No, it's a report. It's a report. It's a report. So we can do this by voice.
Distinguish.
What's that?
Should be a roll call vote.
No.
No?
It's a report. So, all in favor of supporting the minority report, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say no.
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 How do we know?
Okay. We'll call the roll. Clerk Spencer, call the roll, please.
Okay. Graham,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Leader,
No.
Rose,
No.
Skin,
No.
York,
No.
Levin,
No.
Healy,
No.
Morley,
No.
Kennedy,
No.
Mulliner,
No.
Wagner,
No.
Gudenkauf,
Aye.
Heza.
Aye.
Okay. Looks like 4 ayes, 10 nays.
4 ayes, 10 nays, the minority report fails. We'll go to the majority report, which is on the floor still. Any other discussion before I ask for a roll call? Hearing none, Clerk Spencer, please call the roll.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Healy,
Aye.
Morley,
Aye.
Mulliner,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Gudenkauf,
No.
Heza,
No.
Shea,
No.
Leader,
Aye.
Rose,
Aye.
Graham,
No.
Hipskin,
Aye.
York,
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
10 ayes, 4 nays.
10 ayes, 4 nays, the majority report passes, and we go on to reports and recommendations of appointed elected officials. I'm going to make mine very quick because we've got a budget to go into after we adjourn the meeting. Tomorrow's a big day for Elmhurst, midterm elections. I encourage everyone to get out and vote and exercise the most fundamental American right that we all have. So it's important. Many people don't vote in local races. I think it's very important that we do. That's where I think majority of the impact is made. So, and I think we all appreciate that. So that's my report. City Manager Borchert, your report, status of progress of Stormwater Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A quick report. The Burke RGN technical team continues to gather data in the city. As they're out and about in the city, their company logos are visible on their vehicles, and they're carrying company identification tags. If there's any questions in that regard, the team is inspecting manholes, placing monitoring devices, and gathering data as part of the comprehensive flood plan. Off the city, the following has been accomplished as a part of the study. They've reviewed the initial background documents relative to the sanitary system. All sanitary sewer flow meter locations have been identified in the field. Meter equipment, including installation bands and depth velocity probes, are being assembled for installation next week. They have initiated on the stormwater design side the skeletal hydraulic model, completed flood questionnaire and GIS exhibits, reviewed the city's GIS database of storm sewer system information throughout the 10 study areas, and performed a number of site visits to gather additional background information, and have begun development of the storm sewer computer modeling. In a related fashion, relative to the staff and elected officials leaning on Commonwealth Edison, the council has been provided another monthly report from the Commonwealth Edison group. They have identified work orders to be completed this calendar year. You've been provided a status of that work. A lot of the work has been done, not all of it. Significant amount has been completed. They've got the mid-circuit reclosers yet to complete. Other work is significantly been completed. There's still some tree trimming work. We heard about the tree trimming. We heard about the outage this past weekend as a result of a branch. That's what causes the problems. Commonwealth Edison has identified what they're doing to try to reduce the frequencies of these tree outages. There were other outages in the city of Elmhurst over the weekend. It wasn't just Southwest Elmhurst. So we'll continue to work with Commonwealth Edison in that regard. Relative to the ongoing work, the task force has been identified in their 5 areas of review and interest. Everybody's been provided generally their first or second pick. That group will be meeting later in April with the Burke team and city staff to begin their work as a task force and as stakeholders to overview the process and provide advice and information to the city council as the study recommendations come forward. End of report.
Very good. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got several calls and emails because power went out in the Fifth Ward as well, directly north of at least where a couple of the residents said they lost their power. And until I got here this evening, I was not aware that it was a twig that caused the outage. I'm not an electrical engineer, and I've never tried to play one, but to me, I mean, City Manager Borchard, with your experience, is that normal? I mean, that a branch could fall across a line or two lines and cause a power outage? Or should there be some sort of insulation, some kind of guards in place that would preclude that from happening?
Outages occur with a squirrel, with a bird, with any type of, a lot of outages occur with the metal kites, as those metal kites will wrap into one wire and then the tail will wrap into the other wire, making a cross connection and a short circuit, and pop goes the fuse. So it doesn't take much. It really doesn't indicate a deficiency in the system. It's the branch that caused the problem. It could happen with a short circuit in a house. It's happened where within a fatality, an injury, because somebody has done a cross connection and then becomes part of the short circuit. So Commonwealth Edison isn't done. We know they're not done. We've got work to do. That is part of what has been brought to the city's attention. On the positive side, the city's sanitary sewer lift station, Sailor and Jackson, was out of power as a result of the power outage, but the light went on outside because the emergency generator went on inside and ran the pumps. So the backup systems for the city worked. In addition, there were city staff that were already out monitoring the system through the new protocol. So much has been learned and much will continue to be learned as the city goes forward, and the consultants will help in that regard. And Commonwealth Edison has agreed to staff the task force stakeholder overview as the city staff has requested them.
Alderman Healy, follow-up?
Thank you. And Mr. Borchard, I know this isn't your main area of expertise, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if for example, we had a brand-new power grid and that same branch fell over the same wires yesterday, do you think that would have still I mean, I know it's speculation, but would you think that would still cause an outage, or do you think that we're lacking something that might cause that? Because just from where I'm sitting as a complete novice, that seems to me, a little odd.
My understanding of electricity, if you've got a cross connection that shouldn't be there and the power goes there, it can cause the breakers to break.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Brown.
Yeah, this is more of a curiosity question than anything. I'm going to make light of a very serious topic. We better watch out for the ladybugs this summer because it might short the ComEd lines. But in all seriousness, did this branch literally just cross two wires, and that is what shorted out this area of town?
My understanding is the branch was actually scorched as the power went through it between the two cables.
We can inspect it.
We'll let you keep the Charlie Brown tree for your use later in the year.
We'll examine Exhibit A after the meeting's over. All right, anybody else? We got a lot to do yet tonight, so I encourage everyone to go on to our budget meeting, which will be committee of the whole after we finish up today. So, anybody else? Questions? We're okay? All right. Other business? Any other business? Announcements? City Manager Borchard.
Just a quick announcements. The announcement that should be delivered to every home in the community is anticipated to be delivered later this week, and that is a redundant message. It's already been provided in city newsletters and announced in other venues, but the annual spring cleaning, I think the Public Works Committee referred to that relative to the solid waste report. The spring cleanup, that extra cleanup where there are household debris allowed to be cleaned up without stickers, will be next week. So depending on your day, next week, either April 13th, 14th, or 15th will be the annual spring cleanup week. And the notices are at the post office. They should be delivered to the homes later this week. That is just for residents, single-family residential properties within the corporate limits of the city of Elmhurst.
Very good. Clerk Spencer.
I just want to add on to what you said, Mr. Mayor, about voting tomorrow. It is important. So if you don't know your polling place, you can call the DuPage Election Commission. And I want to give you that number. It's 630-407-5600.
Thank you, Clerk. Alderman Pezza, what hand?
Thank you. The next Ward 1 Coffee and Conversation will be Wednesday, April 27th from 8:30 until 10 a.m. at the Smoothie Factory, 116 South York Road. So it will be smoothies and conversation. Everyone and anyone is welcome Wednesday, April 27th.
Very good. Great place ahead of the baby hours. They're good people. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received in our packet this week from IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation, about the Elgin O'Hare West Bypass project. They are having what I believe to be a public information meeting on April 5th, 2011 at the Itasca Holiday Inn, 860 West Irving Park Road in Itasca, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, this is open to the public, so if you're curious in regards to the status or what is the current and latest and greatest proposal for Western access, please feel free to stop by the Holiday Inn for that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else? Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, just another comment about something that was in our packet. It's nice to highlight people who have success, and Bruce DeBeal, our building commissioner, just passed his, I want to get this right, certified fire marshal testing, and he's one of 65 people in the United States who have earned this. That's something for us, the city, to be pretty proud of, to have somebody who's got those qualifications.
Bruce does a great job. Absolutely. Bruce DeBeal, for the folks that don't know out there, is our building commissioner. He's also a licensed architect, amongst the other many accolades that he has, but does a great job in our building department. So, anyone else? Okay, very good. Motion to adjourn. Alderman Morley with a motion, second by Alderman Hipskin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Be opposed? We're adjourned.